Federal CIOs in recent years have trained a lot of effort and budget on retiring technical debt. Several agencies have come pretty close to finishing or have finished the job. Jim Coyle is U.S. Public Sector Chief Technology Officer at Lookout. He says technical debt's driven a lot of decisions across government.
There's been a lot of tech debt that's been built up over the years. There's been a lot of deployments that solve certain challenges of 5, 10 years ago. And some of those challenges and some of those reasons still hold true today. But now we start to look at, well, what innovations have been around over the last decade? And I think some of the challenges that we're faced today, especially around data, is, well, what data do I have? Where does it reside and who's accessing that data? And more importantly, do my controls that I've purchased, are they allowing me to have certain controls over those various different data sets? And I think that's kind of one of the big missing links today. And so when we talk about cloud security, we talk about data security, one of the challenges that I definitely see is how do we resolve the tech debt that is now in place, while also safeguarding national security, safeguarding that sensitive data, but also gaining that insight and understanding of the various data sets that exist. Again, who's got access to it? What data do I have? Where is it even stored? And I think that's really the key piece that agencies need to focus on.
I think one of the things that's encouraging about that is that just about every conversation I have about architecture with a federal CIO, the topic of technical debt comes up. So they're at least aware that this is something I need to deal with. And in many cases, it's something that I am already dealing with.
Absolutely. And, for us vendors, it's easier said than done, right? Like we don't have to manage, their budgets and their level of technical debt. And so, dealing with technical debt is, a massive challenge and massive undertaking in itself. But the good news is, at least from a, private-public sector relationship, we are there to help. And so, when these folks, are looking to help solve those challenges, they can rely on us to, provide some insight.
And I think the other thing that's useful is some agencies are getting to the point where they see, if they haven't retired at all, they're seeing the other side of it and starting to be able to think about the benefits. Okay, now that I don't have that issue or that issue's not as prominent anymore, these are the other things that I can start to think about, gains I can start to make. Is that a fair?
That 100%
idea?
Absolutely. And so one of the benefits of help solving technical debt is when you start looking at these newer innovative technologies that may be 100% cloud reliant, there's a cost savings that gets applied to that. And sometimes it's a significant savings as opposed to some of the more legacy oriented infrastructure that's in place today. And so when you start moving into that world of cost savings, where else can you apply that? Because now you can start taking on the challenge of the other larger technical debt aspects of the environment. Or maybe it's a people problem you're trying to solve, but you weren't able to solve it before. But getting that innovative technology in place certainly will help with that.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about is the idea of data security versus cloud security. Another thread that I keep hearing now, instead of people talking so much about securing the cloud, whatever their cloud environment looks like, it's not that they don't care about securing the cloud, but the idea of securing the information and the data that the cloud holds and the applications that the cloud holds, that's become the focus of conversation. Is that a trend that you see and hear about also?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And so really when we talk about the difference between data security and cloud security is really more around the idea of policy control, around data loss prevention mechanisms, around zero trust principles. When we talk about cloud security, we're really talking about certain configurations that enable access into these various different environments. Is it from a trusted source? Is it a computer that you manage? Or is it a device that you don't manage? Maybe it's a mobile device that they're trying to access that cloud resource. And then you also have other things like GRC, right? Your risk and compliance teams and your governance teams, how do they play in safeguarding these cloud environments that allow the data to be there?
Well, how does one measure success in this area? How does one know at least we're on the right track, or maybe we need to revisit, maybe we need to rethink our positions?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. And I do think that's going to be dependent on not only the agency and what their mission is, but also I think a level of success is when we as a nation, from a national security perspective, make it to a point where it is far tougher for an adversary to gain access into that sensitive information, to where it causes a lot of challenges for them as a nation to try to gain access into that sensitive information. That, I would say, is an overarching level of success. But I think from a mission standpoint, per agency, being able to provide, highly secured capabilities, that can stand the test of time, but also help other challenges like technical debt, like people, right, process, and yet still being able to provide a capability to their mission partners.
Jim Coyle of Lookout.